up, YouTube? So, I was talking to a guy. We had a consultation the other day, and he was just talking about how he feel like he was obsessing about the breath work as far as like his average breaths. Like, the more that you do breath work, your average breath is just going to be better. Your average unconscious breath gets better the more that you do sessions. So, like, he was reaching a point where he felt like he couldn't be unconscious of his breath. He was focused so much on the mechanics of the breathing and trying to do uh, perfect tumo breaths, I guess, every time that, just all the time, every time he caught a breath, because he became so conscious of his breath that he felt like it was creating a problem where he felt separate from people, because he's trying to like validate himself by the mechanics, by the form of the breath work, and and through that process you basically invalidate everybody else, and you invalidate yourself whenever you don't have the form. So like anytime you're catching shallow breaths and stuff, you're going to be looking at yourself like I'm not valuable, or I lose my intrinsic value, because everything, all my value is based on performance and mechanics. So um, I just wanted to make this video just to talk about how as far as the breath throughout the day, because you're going to do your breath sessions and everything, and that's just going to change your average breaths throughout the day, and your whole algorithm of breathing changes. The more that you breathe correctly, the more that your body just is going to be conditioned to breathe from the diaphragm rather from the upper chest and have a shallow breath. So breath work itself isn't really anybody's purpose. It's something that you use to to realize your purpose, or to gather yourself so that you can uh, be effective in completing tasks or whatever you need to complete, as part of your purpose. So um, people, I feel like throughout the day, they get obsessive on it, and they focus so much on the mechanics of the breathing rather than just being conscious of the breath itself. So you have a period throughout the day. There's different things that you can do. That are more shallow activities, or more activities of depth, and you just have to keep your breath in accord with that. So, like, if you're trying to do grounded activities and things that are grounding and things that are more shallow or more in your body, but you're trying to live in the ideal that your breath needs to be a certain way, you'll be constantly living in effort rather than just living and being. So if I'm running around moving my body and I'm in the sympathetic nervous system and it's appropriated, but I'm trying to do deep breaths in a controlled, like as if I was in like lotus or something, then it's like a conflict of interest. It's like I'm trying to steal second base with my foot on first base. So you can still have conscious breaths that are shallow. You just need to be aware that you're breathing shallow, and then it's kind of like chopping up your food, or even like chewing up your food, in a sense where instead of you being able to get one big breath, you're taking a bunch of shallow ones. As long as you are aware of that, then you'll reset consciously, and like, okay, I'm gonna get these shallow breaths in so that I can recalibrate and get back to the deep breaths when I need to, instead of trying to keep the ideal tumo breath or form the mechanics, keeping that steady while you're doing things that aren't in accord with that. So like it really just comes down to what you're doing, and just staying present with the breath, and a kind of shallow breath can still be conscious as long as you're aware of it. So it's not so much about living in effort. That's where you're gonna get caught up in what people call like human doing rather than human being or whatever. So, and the more that you're doing breath work, you can use it as escapism if it's not appropriated. If you're constantly just closing your eyes to do breath work, and you're not, once your eyes are open, you're not using that time or that energy that you've gathered, or space, because breath work is giving you space, time, and energy pretty much to fulfill your purpose. So if you're just using that to do more breath work instead of fulfilling the tasks and completing the tasks that you need to fulfill your purpose, then you're going to end up being way too yangy and not grounded. So um, we were talking too about sex itself, because he was saying like, man, I was able to control my seed a lot easier, but now that I'm doing so much breath work and I've become obsessive about it, I can't control my seed. And I'm like, yeah, because you're trying to steal second base with your foot on first base, because you're indulging in something that is where you need to be grounded, where you have to have more presence in the root, but your blood is all up here. So you're going into sex more separated and more mental rather than your whole being going into it. So you just be overly sensitive in different areas of the penis, because if you got more blood in your brain, then you're gonna have more sensitivity in the shaft and head of your penis. It's the body basically. The penis is basically the body. It has a head, so it's just about like the circulation of the breath and keeping the circulation even and consistent throughout the whole system, instead of getting so yangy that you just identify with thoughts more and more, and then you just become so so detached from the other areas of the system of the body, of the grid that is the body. So it's really just appropriation. The whole thing is appropriation, and the more that you do breath work at the appropriate hours, and you're prioritizing it before food and water, doing it earlier and earlier in the morning, to where you're in that darkness before the sun even comes up, and you're doing the breathing, then you set the tone for the rest of the day. If you do breath work at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and get a whole hour in or 45 minutes in for a week straight, then you're going to just set the tone for the rest of the day, from 3 a.m. to whenever you lay your head down to recharge again. So if that's where you start, if you're starting the day conscious breathing at 3, 4 in the morning, you'll know when you're at that point where you need your next session, because it's just going to run its course. You're going to start to get into more and more shallow breaths, and then the body's not going to be in alignment with the breath, and then you just have to do your session. And then I feel like people are just so obsessed with the mechanics of it sometimes, that because it creates like kind of a status, like, I mean, it invalidates other people that don't have those mechanics or that haven't applied those mechanics. But then again, like I said, if you're doing that, then as soon as you stop doing breath work, then you have no value. You know what I mean? As soon as you're not getting a certain amount of sessions in, you're going to be holding yourself you're holding yourself accountable in a way that's pretty destructive and obsessive in a sense, because it's all about status at that point. It's all about separating from people instead of just embodying, your truest self, and being aware of the breath, so that you can stay present enough to take advantage of the opportunities that you're given. The more you stay present, the more that you get opportunities to be present. So, and to get opportunities in general. So, the breath, I feel like is a powerful tool, but it's something that you just have to put in its place, man. It's like you don't want to be. It's not really that much different. Like if you're going into parasympathetic nervous system when it really isn't appropriate, then it's just like getting high. Or anything like that. You don't really, your body kind of doesn't deserve to be in that state of relaxation. So it creates a separation between the moment, really. And I always say that too. Like it's same thing with weed or whatever it is. Like if you're bypassing emotions or bypassing things, so that you can stay to force relaxation, you're now in a state of relaxation that you kind of don't deserve. It's like if you built a house, then you could rest. It's easier to rest well that night, because the work you put in. It's like a good day. A man is ready for sleep. Like a man is ready for death. Like a man is ready for death. Like a man is ready for sleep after a good day's work. So like the more that you're in your purpose, the more that you get a different type of security, just because you're just kind of impenetrable in that sense. And then it's like if I go to sleep and I'm high, or if I take drugs and I'm now more relaxed than I should be, I don't really deserve it. And then now I'm attracting things that I shouldn't attract, because of my state of being is not consistent with the moment at hand. So I'm just going to attract things that are also not in the moment. And And again, too, like anything that you can't step away from for a moment, it's it's really like like the other Tao Te Ching verse when he says like, "He who clings to his work will create nothing that endures." If you have to consistently do it, then it's you're doing it to counter. You're not doing it to get better in a sense. Like it's like if I'm doing breath work just so that I can indulge in things that I shouldn't be doing, then it just nullifies the breath work, you know? And that's what I feel like a lot of people get caught up in. And that's why people cling to it, because they know as soon as they stop doing the breath work, then they're going to regress, because they have really no intention of getting better. They just want to continue to do the wrong things, but in a less damaging way, or supposedly less damaging way. What you laughing at? So, yeah, I guess that's it. I don't want it to be too long of a video because it's going to take forever to upload. So I guess I'll just leave it at that. And again, I got the 42 PDFs for 50 and still do consultations for 50 for a half hour. And yeah, that's it really for now. I'll have some more stuff. I got another podcast with O coming. I got to upload it. So that should be about it. I'm going to keep it at that so it don't get too long. So the obsession, though, with just trying to stay, you know, in that situation where you're keeping the mechanics supposedly like ideal, is just living in comparison, you know, and it's just, you're going to compare this moment like, oh, if I'm not breathing right, then I'm not valid. This moment's not valid. And then you don't really trust things. And I think, you know, people are going to go through that process one way or another. The more they get into breath work, they're going to find ways to appropriate it themselves. But that's something I feel like I had to talk to people about, because I feel like people don't know how much is too much or how much is too little or how much should I be doing or whatever, and what time of day should I be doing it. You know, it's going to be based on what time you really get up in the morning or whatever, you know, whenever you get out of your recharge. If you're getting out of your recharge late, then the whole process is going to be different. You know, you're not really in accord with the circadian rhythm at that point. The later you're getting up, you know, because the sun is gradually getting up. So you like gradually go into the elements of air, fire, or gas is air, same thing, ether, whatever you want to call it, then fire, water, earth. You know, if you're waking up and then the sun's already higher in the sky, then you're going to have that's just a different ripple. Like you're just starting your epicenter is just going to be different. So the tone of the day will be different. And then you'll just have more unconsciousness, like it'll just be consolidated like in your sleep, or what you call sleep, like, because that's really what sleep is. The more that it's a consolidation of all the unconscious behaviors of the day. The longer you need to sleep, the more that you're doing unconscious behaviors in the day. So like, if I'm eating things unconsciously and I'm not, and my actions aren't within my purpose, then I'm going to require more sleep, because it's just going to exhaust me, because my energy's not in alignment with the movements. So that's just what happens, you know. And yeah, I feel like it's just like you know, when you do mushrooms at 2 a.m, most people are never really conscious at 2 a.m. Not really conscious anyway, you know, not hyper conscious or whatever you want to call that when you're on like a psychedelic like that. So like, you know, you're investigating, you're probing that period of unconsciousness, or that part of you that has now become a consolidation of unconsciousness. So the earlier that you're getting up from the recharge, the more that you're going to have awareness, still be aware during those times when you're supposedly asleep or recharging or whatever. So like if you take mushrooms at 2, 3 a.m. when you're typically asleep, then you're going to investigate the darkness inside of you, the unconsciousness inside of you, everything. Like we're in the root of it, you know, because the roots are in the darkness. So, you know, if you take mushrooms in the day, you're not going to really tap in. It's almost like light pollution in the city. You can't see the stars because the light from the city. It's the same thing. Like if you're doing breath work in the day or in the light, you're not going to be able to see inside of your brain like you would if you do it at 3 a.m, 4 a.m, or 10 at night or whatever. It's just not as clear in there because it's competing with the external light. And the more that you are lost in the external light, or it's competing, the more that you you lose that internal light, and then you lose the connection to the source of your light. So then you burn out, and that's a lot of people. So that's really about it, man. It's the breath work is tap into all your unconsciousness, really. So the more that you can do that, the more that you can bring it into the light, or realize that unconsciousness, and then integrate it, and there will be less separation between waking life and dreams, and life and death, and light and dark. It all becomes more one. But the more that you have these gaps from passing out, going to sleep, just passing out, from either just being tired or just from eating at the wrong time or eating too much, then you're just gonna have a greater period of unconsciousness. And all sleep is just unconscious breath work. So you just, instead of doing unconscious breath work, you do it consciously at a better period, a better time. Then the rest of your day will be less unconscious. And then once you go to recharge again, you just have more awareness in your body when you go through that process. And again, when you're dreaming, like, you're parasympathetic as you go through the first 90 minutes until you reach REM sleep. So when you go to sleep, or whatever you call sleep, recharge, your 90 minutes is going to be, your body's like in parasympathetic. And then you go into sympathetic once you start to release DMT. As soon as your body is, because you're awake, basically. You're conscious at that point. Once you are in a so-called dream, you're in the sympathetic state because you're alive, whether it be in this body or remotely in another body or however. So you got, the DMT gets released every 90 minutes, and that's what we call REM sleep. And you got about 5 to 15 minutes of that. And that's just, again, the ebb and flow of parasympathetic and sympathetic, and female and male, in a sense, like where the darkness is, producing the light, and the light is kind of like the tip of the iceberg. You got 90 minutes of the body getting into this delta state, getting into the slower breaths, and getting into the parasympathetic nervous system. Then it reaches a point of relaxation naturally, and then it clicks on into the sympathetic, because yang light is going to be sympathetic, male, and you have all this light in your brain. And again, the brain and the spine are like a sperm cell, that the sperm cell that impregnated your mom. Then you're going into the masculine, or you're going into light, or yang. So in that 5 to 10 minute period of yang, or 15-minute period of yang, what we call dreams or whatever, that it's not that it's any less than the 90 minutes of parasympathetic breathing that people do unconsciously, what they call sleep. Then you can see they're really equal things. They're not separate things. It's just that in darkness you have this perception of oneness, because there's no perception of separation when there's no light. And in that state of oneness, if if your body's in a relaxed state of oneness for a long period of time, then you can tap in. You're in the darkness, and you can tap into the one that is one with all, or whatever, the one within you, the creator within you. It's that oneness that relaxes the body. That darkness is what's calming the body down, and it's not living in separation. But as soon as you open your eyes, or when you go into what you call REM sleep or dream, when it's all that light expressing itself, or being realized or viewed, whatever, then you're going from oneness to separation, or supposed separation. You know what I mean? Because in the light, then it's like I can see. If everything's dark, then I can't see. If it's pitch black, then I can't see that this is the bed, and this is the fireplace, and this is the couch, or whatever. But and then when you put the light on, I can see the separation, and I'm living in supposed separation, or whatever. It's still oneness. It's just, I don't want to say inverted oneness, but it's oneness is under the perspective of light, or within the perspective of light, or oneness through separation, in a sense. And that's pretty much what the body's doing night in and night out. And the more that you can retain those experiences, the less you need to sleep, and the easier it is to recharge. And then there's no way you can really sleep more than 3-4 hours in a night, because every 90 minutes you're going through a dream, or with a REM sleep, or that, whatever you want to call that, remote viewing, whatever you want to call that, whatever you call a dream. The words are limiting, but You get what I mean? And the more that you do that, then the more productive you can be with the rest of your day. If you only need to sleep 3 to 5 hours a day, then you got 19, 20 hours, 21 hours to fulfill your purpose. And then the more you do that, then the more clear the dreams will be, because the dreams are really your guidance. And yeah, that's it. Just less waste. The less that you waste, then the less unconsciousness. And then the more that you're in alignment with the consciousness, the one. So it's just really about that, reducing the waste, making the ends meet yourself, not indulging in unconscious things and middlemen that create waste. You know, people have waste management, manage their waste for them instead of them burning their trash or disposing of it in however, or not producing certain types of trash, or they're not controlling their own waste in all the other ways either. And they're not controlling the waste, or what you call waste, whether it be shit or trash, and they're not controlling the production, whether it be food or their own music, whatever it is. Like, it's just, you want to have more of making those ends meet yourself, to where you're just tapping into yourself more directly instead of vicariously, to where you produce and you're a producer in the world, and you're more phototrophic, and rather than endotrophic. So you produce light instead of having to feed off of external light. The more that you feed off external light, the more that you burn from both ends, and you're just going to forget yourself and just keep looping. And the more that you realize your internal light, the more that you are eternal. So I'm going to leave it at that then. I think that's good, right? Because it'd be too long after that. All right. I think it was bellissimo.
Bellissimo.